practical tool. And we've gotten off kilter. And again, I don't mean to keep going back to the pandemic, but 2020 was a rock. I mean, it shook all of us. You know, we used to talk about the '08 debacle of the world, but now 2020 has taken it over. And 2020 has now moved into 2021, and here we go, ding, ding, ding.
So, you know the difference between '08? Let's talk about what you just brought up, because I talk about '08, and my biggest pet peeve, Joan, is that we not as a country, we just blew by '08. Yep. We blew by it in so many ways. You know, Elizabeth Warren tried to do some stuff with that, but we blew by it. You know, we had people in our establishment and banking that got away with literally ridiculously harmful things. We blew by it and people suffered. The difference is, and this is kind of crazy for me to say this, the difference is in '08, people did not have hope. They didn't see an end in mind. They lost. They were like, I'm here and I got my house and I got my job and my family. And I had a friend who, top speaker, author, went from that to having a tent in Sacramento. The difference is they knew they were in the end. They knew their house was in front. We're in this moment of unstable energy. Now we're coming back, but no, don't really come back. Okay, right? But we cannot give up on the basics. So let's get at the basics.
Yeah, no, we can't give up on the basics because, again, the true north of who we are, no matter how we've gotten knocked around, we still have certain traits within us, and we need to honor those traits. We need to honor those positives that we have in our life. And sometimes, and unfortunately, in so many of the folks that I'm dealing with and the conversations that I have and the things that I'm reading, the obstacles are just becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And again, so we're looking at things that if you address the word fear or look at the word fear, again, there's only two emotions. There's fear and there's love, and that's it. So if it's not love, it's going to be fear. So things that are holding you back are going to be fear. And what does that mean? Is it still holding you back now? The definition might be a little bit different because, again, I love my operational definitions. And part of what we'll do in this day one journey as we look at taking these dreams and aspirations and inspirations and who you are and finding that true north and being able to look in that mirror and say, that's who I really am. I might have lost some parts of her or him, but I am now going to come back and I'm going to be stronger and better. So a new piece that I am bringing into programs that I'm doing is helping people realize how important their resilience is. Resilience is key to us, and we've got to be able to find that fortitude. But sometimes when we're in these rocky modes, we don't know where we're going. And again, that's why we're calling it the next normal. Here we are. I'm calling this the tween state. You know, we've got the BC, you know, before COVID, and now we've got the tween state, and we don't know how long we're going to be here. And so this is time for us to pull ourselves up with bootstraps. Some of us can't even find our bootstraps. And we go through these, roller coaster rides. And this is what we're looking at. In the day one program, it's taking a hardcore look on an intensive basis at what some of these roller coaster rides are. And how are you going to find that resilience to keep on keeping on? And what does it mean? I mean, in '08, and that was, again, I am so blessed that '08 happened, because it forced me, sorry everybody, but it forced me, it's all about me, it forced me to make huge changes. And that's why, that's how I'm living my purpose and my passion now, was because of what happened. So many of the things that I do in my lifestyle and how I treat my body and my mind happened in '08, because I was so rocked to the bottom. This 2020 and 2021 now, it's all about, it's losing that control, yes, that we thought we had. And again, that's just a thought, but it's also looking at, how real are you? Are you going to show yourself up as being brave, or are you going to allow yourself to really look at what's happening? And that's what day one's going to look at. Day one is going to be looking at in a variety of ways, looking at creating not only a vision board that we might literally start that first week of when we get going, because this is a 3-month program. I'm looking for 3-month commitments here, and looking at what you think you might want to be happening or happening in your life in the very beginning, and watching what we continuously learn in this process, because this is a process. Again, that plan, do, check, act. We come up with a plan together, because it's you and me together. And then we put the plan together, you commit to doing what you want to do. And again, these are your ideas. And then you actually go and you do them. And then we go back and we check in to see, how did that work out? And again, it's okay if it didn't work out, because now we can tweak it. It's not considered a failure, because so many of us it's either perfect or it's a failure. So these are some of the things that are going to come up. And so my hope against hope is this type of a program will really, once and for all, give you the tools to get beyond all of those thoughts, because your brain is a muscle, and we've got to change some of the muscle memory that's going on in our brains and in our minds.
Yeah. And let's talk about this, because this is really the opportunity. And I'm glad you brought up '08, because one of the things that I know, and one of the things that I'm reminded of as you're talking about it, none of this journey at all. We haven't had a great announcement happen yesterday, but it was so matter-of-factly, it just blew by us until I realized how important it was and where the idea came from. '08 and '09 that was the moment that somehow what you're talking about, a day one program, a coaching practice, working with other people, taking the journey not alone, was so critical for us. Had I not done that, and probably had '08 and '09 not happened, you would not be on the Transformation Network. The decision to expand and build this happened during that period. But Joan, what you're talking about is so critically important. And I have to say that we have the best listeners on the planet. Benny and I have been together since 2003. And what I want to say is that this is not a ship that gives up. This is not a ship where we fold. And what you're offering to people is you're offering them an opportunity to get an infrastructure and a backbone of energetic strength building, which allows them to be powerful in the world. That's what we're talking about. And it doesn't matter what the circumstance is, because if you're working with somebody, and you're working with somebody that's got the day one program, and you're looking at the end in mind, it is extremely difficult not to achieve what you desire. What do you think?
I fully agree with you. But that's where we're looking at doing this whole plan, do, check, act. Not throwing in the towel when the first thing doesn't work. And so many of us are used to doing that as well. Right now we go, well, what the heck? Why not? Because something's going to change anyway, and my life is going to shift. but that's okay, because you got to keep plugging along. I mean, over the years when I've had groups doing, even going back to talking about the vision board, creating vision board, I can't believe there are people in my life that are saying, I think I need a vision board. And I'm going, yep, got it. But I had people that were actually creating them, and they were using bulletin boards. And so they could use a thumbtack in there and hang something up. And just to see what was happening as they were going through the process of life, and noticing that, okay, that has to move. And they would move it to a different spot or a different corner based upon, where they thought they wanted to go, what their balance was going to look like, because something else happens. And we have to be ready to handle some of the bumps and lumps along the way. The tough thing right now is we're constantly in this cavalcade of bumps and lumps.
Yeah.
And what are we going to do? But we need the strength. And there's where I'm going back with that resilience. How do we build the faith in ourselves? The faith in ourselves has got to come from our belief in ourselves.
And, look, you mentioned we are in this really interesting time, and, we're in a time of spinning. But I will tell you, I live in the state of Washington. And this morning I just shared with my team the latest breaking news from yesterday. And this is now the state of Washington now has Governor Jay Inslee, one of the strictest mandates in the nation. Now, how do you look at that? Well, you look at how the spinning is going, and there are tough decisions people are making, Joan. Mm-hmm. I want to take a moment before we continue, because decision making is hard sometimes alone. It doesn't matter, you and I are talking about, it doesn't matter if you want to build your business. We're talking about helping people get through their day, mm-hmm. making decisions about that. How do people find out about the program? How do people find out about what you've created and what you're offering to folks today?
Well, thank you. One of the ways is to visit my website, peacefullyhealing.com, and look under Work with Joan, the tab Work with Joan, and under that is a day one page, a day one tab that shares information in depth about this program, what it's going to look like, trying to start to establish expectations from my perspective. But again, keep in mind that it's 2 people or maybe more, because the beauty of this program is it can be one-on-one with me, or it could be 1 and 2 folks that want to work with me, and you come and you create your own little group. So that also helps with what you were saying about the decision making. Who do you look to help you with decisions? And what does that mean? And how do you test yourself for all of that? And I've got a questionnaire there that, again, a real quick questionnaire that you fill out, send it off to me, and then we sit and have a consult. It's a complimentary consult just to talk about this a little bit more in the context of your lives. Because what's tough in creating this kind of a program is the variabilities are as various as when you walk into a room and you have 10 people, and each one of those 10 people has a completely different attitude, mindset, and their careers are different. Everything about them is different. So I am all about customizing it to the people or the person that I'm working with. And again, we will learn. I learn very quickly what your preferences are based upon the kinds of questions that I ask and how you're responding to those questions. And I'm smiling because it's quite revealing, because I'll turn around and go, might I ask, do you prefer this over this? And invariably, the head goes nod, yes, yes, yes. Or it opens up this conversation, and that's how it happens. All coaching is, they're conversations, and it's getting deeper and deeper and deeper into what makes you you and what's standing in your way. And again, so many times that I hear people and I'll go, well, why is this different? And they'll go, well, it's not really different because I never moved forward the last time I did this or last time I talked about it. Again, when you talk about New Year's resolutions, they fall to the wayside. And again, we're looking at, we write down goals in the old days of, creating goals. This is going to be action-packed. Again, plan, do, check, and act. And everything is movable. until you determine that this is feeling good to you. Along the way, I might teach you how to do muscle testing. So, and where your intuition is, so you can start trusting yourself better if that piece of you is fallen to the wayside a little bit. The other piece of armament that I have with me that not all coaches have is my ability and my use and my desire to bring Reiki into the conversations. I mean, Reiki is my leveler all the time. So if someone in a coaching environment gets a little stuck on something, we bring the Reiki energy into it. And that's all about, again, the Reiki is going to go to where it needs to go. It's going to provide you clarity. It's going to provide you relaxation. It's going to provide you some depth of understanding where you are. And then when we clear that way, we can continue on our merry way, if that's something you want to do. So there are lots of things that I can offer along that line. It could be setting affirmations. It could be lots of different things that you yourself need. And that's what's so beautiful about this, because it is so unique. But you can find out more at peacefullyhealing.com.
Look, thank you. Thank you. I don't even know where to begin to start, but I will tell you what. Let's stay with Covey for a minute, because we started out like that. I want to talk with you. I want to get back to that, because what you all just described, what you described, is the pathway to get to the end in mind. Mm-hmm. This is such a critical idea. And what I want to ask about it, Joan, is the following. When people hear this, at least when I first heard it from Covey, everybody thought you had to have a big idea. Now, I will tell you that my training in corporate America with the 7 habits and then teaching it to corporate people, that thing got embedded in my brain. Like, I look at the day now with the end in mind, and I don't say it. What a powerful tool. If people can work with you on that and realize that this is not just about some gigantic vision board dream, although it does include that, but with the end in mind. You and I are here because we had an end in mind.
You better believe it.
What was your end in mind? Can I ask you?
I didn't. Well, I fought it for years. I fought doing what I'm doing now because I thought I had to be mainstream corporate America, do the shtick and whatever else. And I had fear about making that jump into being independent and autonomous, even though every bone in my body is independent and autonomous. And I am, I'm a worker bee. I look at the big picture. I also get into a little detail. So, I mean, and many, many, many years ago when I had, again, both feet were on different banana peels, and I was between jobs, and I was looking at going back into corporate America versus moving into my own world. And I found an amazing mentor that told me that I've got to make a decision. Talk about a tough decision. And when we had that conversation, I wasn't gutsy enough. So once again, I tried the way that I felt I had to do it, and it didn't work. And now I'm living my life's purpose and passion, and we all need purpose and passion. That adds to our health and our well-being, our balance, our relationships with everything in the world. And that's what this Day One program is helping people do. So it's not, we all need to experience the experiences that we have. But what goes on is when you have those experiences and the stories that you're telling in your head, that's the detrimental piece. The Day One program will help you take a look at those stories that you've been telling yourself. Let's get to the root of it, whether it be the fear of failure, whether it be whatever, whether it be, I always I go to higher ground and I go and earn another certification. I go and take a class versus having to make a decision and stay where I am. Oh, it's just fascinating.
It is. And I'm so really excited and proud of what you're bringing forth, right? It is the kind of thing that I think about, especially when I think about the world we live in. And I'm thinking about what we need right now. And what we need right now is guidance and wisdom from another person that is not embedded in our day-to-day, that can be objective. That's what we need.
me up.
And that's what we're offering people. That's what we offer people. I mean, I rebooted my coaching practice, for the listeners. We had so many people that were out of work and tuned into the show, and they have become our loyal listeners because we're in service of them, aren't we? Wow. Joan, I want to thank you for today. I know there's a lot we've talked about, but most importantly, kind of tell us again the invitation that you're having for people to get some help.
Great. The invitation is called Day One. There's a variety of ways you can do this. You can choose to do one-on-one with me. You can choose to bring people with you. It could be a mother-daughter deal. It could be a team that you work with. Whatever, let me work with a small group, and then we can also expand it. And it's all about, it's an intensive. So we're looking at a 90-day intensive, which means a commitment, which means that every week. And then again, we're looking at conversations between that time frame, because there are things that are going on, and I'm here to support you. And you can find out more on my website, peacefullyhealing.com. Look under Work with Joan, and then pull up your Day One piece. And I think we actually have borders and whatever else on so anyway, I think on my website now, you can click and learn more and come and join us. And I'm very excited about the opportunity, because again, my passion is to help you to enhance your health and well-being. And this is all a step in your health and well-being overall, is to help develop your happiness, to help find your joy points, because that's the stuff that's going to keep you well and to keep you moving forward and to be able to live the life. No matter what it looks like on that vision board, we can make that happen to build confidence and autonomy and trust in yourself, because so many of us have lost trust in ourselves. That's what this program is all about.
And, thank you for that, Joan. And would you mind telling people how they can listen to your show?
Oh, great. Well, my show is Awareness to Action, and my show is on the first and third Tuesdays of the month at 9 a.m. Pacific. And my show is all about looking at those aha moments that take you from that moment of aha, and it literally catapults you into finding that purpose and that passion. So that's where you can find me.
I love it. I'm Dr. Pat, and you know where to find me. You can go to the drpatshow.com, transformationtalkradio.com, and some really cool stuff coming up for all of you. We're going to have a special logo contest for our new channels and our new network. And yes, that is coming to be, because why? We have the end in mind. Thank you, Benny.
I love it.
Thank you, Betty. Thank you, Joan. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you. This has been a pleasure. Namaste.
And rock on.
Have a great day.
You betcha. Thank you all. We'll see you next time.
All right, all clear.
Ciao, everybody. Thank you.
All right.
Bye, gang. See you later.
Bye. Thank you.
Parenting isn't about perfection. I think we all know that. Parenting is about being present and honest, having compassion for your child and for yourself, communicating consciously and loving unconditionally. Tune into the Awakened Parent Project with Susan Dolce every first and third Tuesday at noon Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Learn to be an empowered parent through the techniques of the conscious parenting community. To learn more about Susan, visit SusanDolce.com.
Imagine you are a ball of steel, smooth, small, and cool to the touch. Your life will soften you with fire. You will take hits that shape you. You will be forged into a powerful, purposeful work of art. Tune in to Forging a Life with Coach Christine Clark, joining Dr. Pat Basili in a 3-part series, Truths in the Creation of Katana, on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Christine Clark, a gifted, engaging speaker and trainer who has forged her life in the fires of self-employment, will take you on a journey to exploring the internal, mental, and emotional blocks that stand between us and a life of significance through an analogy of the process of crafting a traditional Japanese sword, or katana. For more information about Christine, visit sunglowtransformation.com.
Hey, everybody, welcome. You all know we have been doing a complete series ever since the big announcement came. The Pentagon report, that thing that came out that everybody was looking at. We did several shows about it. And there are many of us that have walked this earth for a really long time and understand a bit about the phenomenon that has really been secretly held to a small group of people until now. Today, we're talking about new evidence of unidentified aerial phenomena. I love that term. I just love it. It's like the coolest term. Guest joining me here today, Dr. J.C. Van Valkenburg, former Los Alamos National Lab biophysicist, and Deborah, and I hope I get this right, Deborah LaPravote. Did I get that right? LaPravote. Welcome to the show to both of you, right? How do you feel about me saying, put you both together, and now we've got a research body that just won't quit? Is that an accurate representation of each of you? Who wants to go first? You want to go first? JC, Dr. JC, do you want to go first?
I think it shows girl power, especially in science. You know, there tend to be fewer women in science the further up you get. And it's important to have women in science. And I love working with Deborah, and this has been a wonderful venture together.
Deborah, give me your part two. And then Dr. JC, give me your part two.
Well, yeah, I think, first of all, you have to ask why now? Why did the United States government put out this report now? And I think part of it is that it can no longer be ignored. There are photographs taken around the globe daily, right? As everyone has a camera that has video and photographic capabilities. So images are being captured daily around the world. So no one can, it's not the farmer 1950 in a field whose cow fell over, right? And so there's so much evidence being observed and obtained around the world, you can't ignore it anymore. I think that is the part one of the movie. Part two is, okay, these are there. We don't know what they are. G2P is not telling you what we're seeing. What we're saying is that we have captured over the last 4 years thousands of images of multiple variety of UAPs. So it's not one. It's not like we don't have 1,000 photographs of one type of UAP. We have 100 different prototype photographs out there. So our next step is, okay, it's definitely there. What is it? And how do we go about in a scientific fashion to put information out that takes it out of pseudoscience and takes it out of the realm of entertainment and just puts factual information forward so that people can make their own decisions and come to their own conclusions?
Dr. JC, may I call you Dr. JC? Is that appropriate? I'm not sure. I just like the way that sounded.
Yes. So really for me as a scientist, the exciting part of this is actually getting to look at things that are unknown and pursue that scientifically and get answers that could help us in ways that we can't even imagine as of today. Because when you're a scientific researcher, you have a single observation. and it's of interest, and you want to dig into it and see what it's telling you. And of course, you're always coming from your own personal interest. If you're a researcher in cancer, you're looking at it from a cancer perspective. But then what you do is, as you're gathering data and you're amassing data and amassing findings, you start recognizing bigger patterns. And then you start collaborating with other innovative thinkers in different fields. They start looking at your data and they're looking at it from their perspective. At that point, they see your data and they're like, you know what? This applies to my field. This will advance my field from this perspective. So they pick up your information and they start pursuing it. And this kind of information, with the UAPs, the things that we're seeing, the features that are being researched are acceleration, directionality, things that tend to not fit our known physics right now. And so by researching those and expanding our knowledge base, these are pieces of information that could help us in so many different fields, thinking of the range all the way from aircraft manufacturing to human health.
And I'm so glad you said that. As a researcher myself, I really appreciate the empirical side of it. Am I the only one that has wondered about the time frame of this Pentagon report? They focused on reports that occurred between 2004 and 2021. Why?
Yes. Well, first of all, I think 2004 to 2021 is where they have the most data. But what's interesting is that in this report and other things that have been released is that there is some time of observation almost daily. And so again, it's just getting to the point where if you're not reporting on it, if the United States Navy and our military isn't putting information out, then it would appear that we have something to hide, and we don't. And what the report said, which was interesting, is yes, some of these can be explained, but the majority of them can't, which still makes them fall into the unexplained aerial phenomenon. And that they recognize that and that they're doing more research. But the military used a very small data set, only information gathered by the military. And I understand why, because there's so much information out there and you don't know, the photograph might show up on Facebook and then 2 weeks later it's shown to have been photoshopped or whatever. So that's why the information that's put out by the Genesis 2 project, we don't put it out until it's been forensically validated that these photographs are not retouched, not enhanced, not altered in any way. So what you're looking at and what we share is exactly what was photographed or videotaped. And then that data can be worked off because there's the solid science behind it.
And let's bring the science to the conversation now.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And even with that, I'm sure there'll be backlash. But what do you think is your greatest opportunity and your greatest challenge? And I'd like each of you, if you don't mind sharing that. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Yeah. The greatest challenge is really overcoming the perception of this mythically. This does have a lot of entertainment value, especially right now. You turn on the TV and you change any channel and you're very likely to find some kind of entertainment show speculating on theories of what this could be. And they run the gamut from quite wild and threatening, because it's sensational, and they want viewers, and that's totally understandable. However, that's the tide that we're fighting against. To make something scientifically valid when really it's been entrenched in our popular media as an entertainment of something with entertainment value. And that's been tricky because even people that are bona fide scientists that understand the need to go into any kind of project with a clear mind, with no bias, with not making any kind of judgment of saying, it's not this, and I'm out to prove it's not this. You cannot start a scientific research study that way. You don't know what it is.
Yeah. And, that's really the opportunity then too, Doctor. It's like the opportunity is that, it does get easier every day because evidence validation requires, such rigor, but then it requires also, and it really produces the rigor then produces more acceptance, right? You know, it turns the tide a bit. It turns the conversation a bit. Deborah, how about you? You know, greatest challenges, obstacles?
I think the obstacles and the challenges are the competition between what's easy, which is entertainment, right? and the mass audience of entertainment over science. And although I think hopefully that's changing. And, you know, I think what's interesting with G2P is that we don't speculate. We're not trying to convince you of anything. What we're showing you is like these items, these UAPs are being photographed daily. I mean, daily around the world and in the United States. So they're right here. So when people say, oh, well, you know, it's probably maybe it's something from China or Russia. Well, I doubt seriously that China or Russia are testing their technology over our airspace, right? Where we could intercept it on a daily and photograph it. And so I think the biggest challenge is there's always going to be naysayers that even don't listen to the science. And all we can do is present solid factual evidence and then follow up. I mean, our forensic analysis of all of these UAPs is only phase one of the forensic analysis that's going on. Then come in the groups of physicists who start looking at, okay, can we measure these things? Can we tell their size? Can we tell their trajectory? Can we plot their speed?
You know, I think about, you know, I've done a number of interviews in 18 years, and I think about the many things I've talked about, because what we're considered is we're considered a different kind of network. We're considered the network that talks about things that other people don't talk about. But this, what we're talking about, are we at the tip of the iceberg? You know what I mean? It's like, here's this iceberg, here's this tip, we get a report, now we're getting your science to come forward. But are you excited about what's underneath the water?
Oh, very much so. Because you never know. You never know what you're going to find.
Wow.
And that, you know, I can speak for science. You know, everyone goes into science because you have just an insatiable curiosity about the world. And this feeds into that. You know, it's so exciting to think about what we're going to learn. What do I believe today that is going to be proven totally wrong? You know, that's really exciting. I would love to know that, because that shows growth and advancement, and those are things that we should be cherishing and pursuing, because it's only going to help all of us.
And let me follow up on what JC just said. Like, I think one of the biggest things that's is kind of surprising to me is that nobody's freaking out, right? I mean,
right.
So you think world of the worlds, right? I mean, people were actually running from their homes. They thought we were being invaded by aliens. Of course, it was melodramatic. Thank you, Orson Welles. But I mean, it's like these photographs. The report comes out from the Pentagon. You don't have people running in the streets and screaming. They're like, oh, well, yeah, okay, well, they are here. What are they? And so I think the biggest thing is that the iceberg has been around for a long time, and people are just now really looking at the tip.
Yeah.
You know, let me ask you a question. I know this is a really short interview, but before I go there, again, please let folks know how they can find out more about what you both are doing, how they can find out more about reports that are coming out. How do they stay plugged into the science that you're bringing forward? What's the best way for people to do that?
So right now we have a very simple website set up, and we are very cautious with what we release. And that's something that's really critical to keep in mind. We're not just going to post something when it comes up to get people to come and see what we're doing. Everything that we ever release has been forensically validated. It has gone through multiple steps of validation, scientific steps of validation, and it is in the process of being scientifically analyzed. We also consider national security implications. So there's multiple levels that are considered before we ever put anything out. So it takes a long time for stuff to get out. And then also we only put a couple things out. We're very cautious with that. So the website, this isn't something you're going to go to every day and it's updated all the time and new stuff is out there, because that's not the way science works. Science is quite slow. So, so we do have a website. It's www.g2p.org. Genesis, the number 2, project.com. And the other thing is that we're also very cautious about keeping this scientific, about keeping this, it has to be very straightforward science. So we have very strict non-disclosure agreements for everyone that works with us. People do not talk about it. We have very renowned scientists that are working with us. We have very renowned business people that are working with us. We have security people working with us. Everyone has signed the NDA because the focus should not be on the people or their reputations, or their celebrity status. The science has to be on the science. And that's where the attention has to go. So that is something else that's why our site is very science minded, and we only release very little information.
One of the things is that you are at this place where you've got this boulder. And, my mom used to say to us kids all the time, how do you feel about rolling the boulder uphill? And, we would look at her and say, what? Like what? And she'd say, how do you feel about rolling the boulder uphill? And the three of us girls would look at her, and I have, my two sisters would look at her and say, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And I'd say to my mom, well, but what's over the hill? What am I going to see over the hill? What's on the other side of that? And that's how I would determine whether or not I was going to push that boulder up over the hill, metaphorically, but in life now too. And I wanted to ask each of you, there is an over the hill side of this, and you both are committed to it. We're starting to see some unusual things. SpaceX. What? How did we do that? Like, you mean like a private funding money type person decided that we're going to do that? What are you most optimistic about? Because I know you have to hold tight the rigor of what you do. You know what I mean? You have to hold it tight. So even if you were to bring other partners in, you have to hold to the strictest of science. And you know what I want to say to you about more in this field than a lot of other fields, right? Your margin of error here is credibility on the line, right? And I can hear it from both of you that is important. What's the next venture for you? Because when I look at the preliminary assessment, many people blew by this, but 80 out of 144, right? Just for a minute, 80 out of 144 people looked at this and were like, but that is in science, 80 out of 144 reports involved multiple sensor observation. In science, in my research, that is a very big percentage, right? That's like not a little tiny thing. That's like a big deal. I'd love for each of you in these closing minutes to talk to us and tell us what you see as the next big deal for us. What is the next big vision, without giving secrets, that you're super like, I can't wait till we discover ...
I'll start. It's an excellent question. And I think that Jenny said, we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And so the next big thing is with our team of physicists and the multiple ways in which you can now analyze these things, whether it's looking at changes in gravitational fields or their trajectory, their movement, they're plotting their speed and trajectory. All of those things are going to give us a better understanding of where they come from, where they go, and why they're here. So the next big thing to me, but I think our biggest takeaway, people said, well, when will your report be out? And we're like, this is an ongoing analysis. I mean, every day we didn't photograph one style. We have thousands of photographs and video, and we have numerous types of UAPs. So what is that telling us? I mean, if you're testing a prototype, you test one or two prototypes. You don't test 100 prototypes. So like have all of these always been here? How long have they been here? Why are they here? Does each different prototype or model have a different purpose. So I just think the wealth of information that's going to be coming out in the future is going to be mind-blowing, but in a wonderful way.
Yeah.
So exciting. Doctor, how about you?
I think for me, it's more, I really have an altruistic excitement about this because it's going to help people understand what science is and the power behind science, you know, the serious nature of it and how this improves our lives in many different ways, and that it needs to be taken seriously. You know, so I'm excited to bring just the populace into the fold of recognizing what science is on a basic level versus, you know, kind of what we see on TV of someone just running out and doing something and it's done in 5 minutes and you have an answer, you know, but really what the scientific method is, you know, how powerful it is and how it grows over time, decades even, you know, that this, and it has to do with collaboration. You know, it has to do with working people outside of your field. It has to do with expanding your mind to being open to new things. And it's really only those ways that we're really able to change our lives and to make the world a better place and to become inclusive of everyone. You know, when you bring people into the fold, when you work outside of your field, then you recognize the merits in what everyone else in that field is focused on. You recognize why they're excited about it, why it's important, whereas you really didn't see that before. And so I think that this field opening up in this way, in a scientific way, really has a lot of potential just to help us, just to help humanity and to help us get along better, to help us understand one another more, to be more productive, you know, as a collective.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you both for, first of all, joining me here today. And of course, taking the message out. For those of you just tuning in, we're having a very significant, important revelation on unidentified aerial phenomenon. That is the acronym UAP. Of course, that has been floating around. And that's when you see it, that's what it means. But now we're moving into the realm of science. You know, now what we're really looking at is not just explaining things hypothetically or speculating, you know, thanks to you both and the body of work that you and the team is doing to bring this forward. We're now showing the public the science, and that's what happens when they go to your website. We're now showing people this is real. This is not Photoshop. This is not a YouTube video that we've touched up and made it look kind of cool. And that in itself is miraculous. You know, you all bringing that level of science forward is miraculous. People will still shake their heads. But I know one thing, you cannot dispute science, not when you have the rigor that both of you are putting forward. Thank you both for everything. Again, the website, last question. I'd like to know your personal message. I'd like to know what each of you would like to leave us with today.
Ooh, be kind.
Stay open-minded and know that there's always more to learn.
Yeah. By the way, did you know that in our field, in the field I'm in, that we just researched and discovered that the antithesis and the remedy for stress and what we've gone through for 18 months, one of the first studies to ever come out is on decency.
Oh, wow.
Yes, the world could use a dose of decency.
I love it. Thank you both. Again, the website, please, Deborah, would you?
Yes, it's www.genesis2project.com.
And for all of you out there, more about the truth will be revealed thanks to these scientists, these forensic people that have said yes to bringing us the best of the best that we could learn about UAPs. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Thank you so much. Thank you both so much.
Thank